Hi, and welcome to Partition Designer. In this session, we will be looking at room layout variations. I'm sure as a user that quite often jobs will come in where there are variations in the wall. There'll be stub walls, there'll be irregularities. This is a demonstration of how Partition Designer handles these situations, and then how the system automatically sizes components to accommodate them. Okay, so this is an interesting alcove. We'll look first at the top left where there's an intrusion that's 8 inches deep. That is, it shortens the alcove by 8 inches and extends the full width of the alcove. And you notice that the system pushes the toilet forward as it does on the right hand side when an intrusion is detected. Alright, down the bottom we have a stub wall. And this stub wall is again in line with the alcove components and therefore affects the components that are used. And then lastly, the recess on the right hand side, the intrusion, that's handled by our stub wall function, and we'll show you how that's done. So we're going to go into a video right now and show exactly how this occurred. So this is our alcove. It's 122 inches. There are two large stalls, which always includes the first, so there's one adjacent large stall. And there are two smaller stalls. The stall depths are 72 inches for the large, 61 1/4 for the small. So we'll hit go to layout. And what the system will do now is draw our layout as per our request. And the first thing we want to do is include the intrusion at the rear of the alcove and then a stub wall at the front. So we'll go to alcove special features. And you'll see that when both these options are turned on, this will accommodate both of our needs relative to that alcove. Each of these features could be turned on or off by the user. Alright, so the first intrusion width we'll go with a 61.5. Intrusion depth we'll go with 8 inches. Okay, so that covered this up here. Now for the stub wall, the distance to wall we'll say is 59.5. Stub wall length we'll say is 6 inches. Stub wall thickness we'll go with 4, and we'll hit submit. Okay, and what this will do is modify both the walls and the pilasters and panels that are used for this layout. Okay, even though we have a large stall here, 72 inches deep, it's using a smaller panel because it had the value subtracted for both the stub wall and the rear intrusion. And so this panel was reduced and repositioned. This pilaster was repositioned. Okay. You'll notice also that there are two levels of stall depth here. Okay, we'll go with the stub wall now for the intrusion on the right side. And you'll notice there's already two stub walls. They're listed as stub walls. So we'll add another one. And this one we'll put at 132 inches, 132. Stub wall length now, remember the length is how far it intrudes into the stall, so we'll go with 8 inches. Stub wall thickness, we're not going to click that, we're going to click continuous and hit add stub wall, and you'll see it will add it to the grid. And then once it's added, we will click done, and we'll see our room updated, and we'll be ready to print. Okay, there we go. Okay, so the next alcove we're looking at is just a simple alcove, but it's obvious there's a wall here rather than a panel. The system has a command specifically to replace the panel with the wall. That's one of the options. And what the system then does is automatically sizes the pilasters with the predefined door size to fit that space. Okay, here we have another alcove. This one's a partial stub wall, so it shortens the panel as needed. We also know there's an intrusion on the right hand side. Again, this one's 9 inches deep. Notice also that we have what we call the cross pilaster or XP alcove. This is where the adjacent stall's front pilaster actually goes in between the panel and pilaster of the alcove. This creates greater stability. Typically can be used for floor mounted or overhead, ceiling hung. This is an overhead brace. It probably wouldn't be necessary here, but it's available. Okay, next we'll look at another alcove, and in this situation we have a panel down the bottom instead of the wall. Right, this is an option. This is one click, and the system will swap out the wall and replace it with a panel. Right? Then the system automatically does whatever calculations are necessary to achieve this. All right. This is an extended alcove, and the difference here is we have our typical panel, pilaster, door, pilaster, but we allow for the insertion of a panel at the bottom, which enables you to have really a very, very large alcove. I apologize. It's a great addition to the set of tools we give you. Right, this is what we call an extra deep stall. You'll notice that there's a large panel in the front, followed by a 24-inch pilaster at the back, in line. And the purpose of this, obviously, is to accommodate the construction of deeper stalls without having to create panels that are, 90 inches or whatever. This is the pilaster can be placed either at the back against the wall or against the front pilasters. Depending on your preference, we would just make sure the system did the correct parts selection in terms of brackets, etc., to accommodate that. Okay, but we're going to take a look in a little more depth about how this is done. Okay, so when someone selects extra deep stall layout, this type, what we do is, if you notice pilasters and panels, we're giving a list of effectively all the pilasters and panels. You set a threshold and say, over this particular size, I want to have all the pilasters and panels available to me to create the extended or the extra deep stall layout. So once you select, for instance, in this case, we selected the 86-inch stall depth, which is a 14-inch pilaster, 69-inch panel. It fills in these here, and you hit submit. We also have the ability to deal with non-standard stall depths, in which case we would allow the user to specify a custom panel size, coupled with a standard pilaster size to achieve the needed stall depth. Okay. So in this case, we had an overall 96-inch depth and those two components. All right. This is another extra deep stall. In this case, what we do is we take the adjacent pilaster, the adjacent stall pilaster, the front pilaster, and we allow the insertion of a pilaster or a panel at the front of that, going out to the front of the first stall. Again, gives you the ability to create a very, very deep stall, and it's a very, structurally it has a lot of integrity. And here's our last. This is the shower stall. This is a 2-room. We also make a 1-room where there would only be 1 level deep. You notice we have shower curtains in here. You can eliminate those and just have a shower track, or you can put doors here. Same thing with the front. All right, and all these things obviously are editable dimensionally by the user in this layout editor that we're looking at now. All right, so we appreciate your time. Best way to reach us at Partition Designer LLC is to call 704-905-3435. We'll be happy to talk to you about this, and if necessary, provide an online demo. And we look forward to speaking with you. Thank you.